And we are back. Welcome back, everybody, to this live stream. This time we are here for the qualifying session ahead of the French Grand Prix here at the Circuit Paul Ricard. I am JW97 once again, and I'm once again joined by my arch nemesis, Ra.
Yep, hello.
And as you can see, for qualifying, it is going to be bone dry. No rain expected for Q1, Q2, and Q3, so dry running all the way. The loading screen has not been put on yet. That'll be put on in between Q1 and Q2, should you remember. I'll probably try and remind you. But without further ado, let's get into Q1. And I might as well ask you, Ra, and everybody in the stream chat, who do you believe will be eliminated in Q1?
Both AlphaTauris, both Williams, a Aston Martin, and a Haas.
I'm going to say both AlphaTauris, both Aston Martins, and both Williamses. I think it's going to be quite a procession, really, in terms of who is going to get eliminated. That's my prediction right there, as I struggle to get my words out there for that occasion. But as you can see, it's the same loading screen that will get changed when we in between Q1 and Q2. But here we are then in the garages getting ready to start the first part of qualifying, and I'll read everybody's predictions when we get onto the racetrack. An 18-minute session, and just a reminder, because we didn't actually mention it in practice, the tyres we're using for this race is the medium tyres. It's been a while since we've seen the medium tyres. I think they've only been used once this season, so it is the second time that we are using the yellow medium tyres, as we wait to see who's going to be the first to go out onto the racetrack here at the Circuit Paul Ricard. It looks like Patel's getting ready to go out, but is anybody going to beat him to the punch? Let's see. It's the Lamborghini mechanics get ready, and somebody is, and it is going to be Kirishima DeRosa that is going to be the first driver out on track during Q number 1. And in fact, if anybody remembers, with the Paul Ricard circuit, initially that pit lane exit line was actually wrong in the past, but if you saw this year at the French Grand Prix, they've actually put the pit exit pit limiter line actually there now, so it's that's actually why the pit lane was actually felt pretty long for the French Grand Prix. So it seems that the people who modded this track actually basically had a crystal ball and realised that they were going to do that for 2022. So bit of a coincidence there, really. But anyway, let's see your predictions then in the stream chat then. So Dennis has said 1 Aston Martin, both Williamses, one Alfa Romeo, and both AlphaTauris. Fonchanik has said both Williamses, an Aston Martin, both AlphaTauris, and a Haas. And Chris has said both AlphaTauris, both Aston Martins, and both Williamses. So he's actually gone with the same prediction that I've got there. So that's that, really. As 19 cars are currently out on track, make that 20 now. DeRosa shouldn't get any traffic. It all depends, really. And in fact, he's not going to get any traffic now, because all 22 cars, you can see on the top left of your screen, are now out on the racetrack now. Then as DeRosa prepares himself into the final 2 turns on the racetrack, through the left-hander he goes, and now into the final corner will go Kirishima DeRosa in the McLaren, making his way down the straight now then, and DeRosa is going to start his lap. Let's see, he's going to start his lap now then, as he makes his way down towards the first corner now then, so through into turn 1, and now into turn 2 he will go now then, as he now makes his way towards turns 3, 4, and 5. We can see some overtakes happen here during the races. We've seen that in the last few seasons, of course, that some overtakes can happen through into these corners. And we did see some people trying to do some overtakes in practice through into that corner as well. Through into turn 6, we saw earlier on in practice that Videri went a little bit wide through into there as well. And given the mistake rate, I wonder if anybody else will be doing the same during this qualifying session. As DeRosa, first sector, 31.909 as he approaches the bus stop chicane. The 32.251 for Griffiths, so only 3 tenths off of DeRosa there in the first sector. 31.828 for Patel in the first sector there. 32.175 for Motrin. 31.881 for Videri, so he's actually set a better first sector than what DeRosa has. 31.966 for Carr. Videri actually going quicker than Carr in the first sector there. 31.893 for Chung there. So 57.829 there comes for Kirishima DeRosa in the second sector there, as it's a 58.276 for Jamie Griffiths in the middle sector there, as you can see on the screen. A 57.695 for Patel, a 58.161 for Motrin there, a 57.931 for Carr, a 57.822 for Videri. So Videri actually on a very decent first lap. I wonder if Carr and a few others are actually caught in traffic. But meanwhile, De Rosa is going to set the benchmark of time for everybody to beat. Across the line, he will go. It's a 129.677. Here comes Jamie Griffiths in the Williams. Across the line, he will go. He slots the second, 7 tenths off. Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini. Can he get to the top of the timing sheets? Across the line, he can, but only by 59 thousandths of a second. Roland Motrin, across the line, he will go in the Aston Martin P4. P3 for Videri. Here comes Carr. He goes into P4. So Videri with a decent first lap there. Chung crosses the line to go into P3. As now we look at Chris Chatfield in the Ferrari. Across the line, he will go. Slots into fourth. Rote goes to the top by 2 tenths of a second. What about his teammate Garber? He now goes to the top by 4 tenths of a second. A 128.880. Fraser across the line. He goes into ninth. Burns slots into third. Galloway across the line. He will go. He goes into 7th. Lopez in the Mercedes across the line goes into 10th. Here comes Perinin. Across the line, he will go. He goes into 5th place there at that time by. In fact, Lopez lost a lot of time in that last sector. Was that because of a mistake, or was it because it was just a poor lap? I'm not sure. Let's see. I don't think though. I mean, he was up in the first sector, obviously, because nobody did set time at that point. No, it just looks like it was just a very poor last sector there for Franco Lopez. So he's down to P11 as it's P15 for Q-Pop. For Willows goes into 3rd. Quar across the line to go into 15th. Miklos Gal in the AlphaTauri now, then comes across the line now then in the AlphaTauri. The man who got a podium in Monaco goes into 12th. Wilson goes into 5th. A good first lap there for Amelia Wilson. Julius Anderson across the line, he will go, and he goes 21st there. Not a very good first lap for him. Sontag goes into 19th there, and that's the end of the first runs. At the moment, it is a Red Bull 1-2 like we saw in practice, but so far, the 2 Aston Martins on the back row at the moment, Ra.
Not the best lap for Julius Anderson, and rather Martin is, well, pretty much not having the best session, but of course it's not the best start to the session for Aston Martin, but still a long way to go. They can improve, but yeah, of course, the Mercs are 14th and 15th.
Yep, not the best first laps for the Mercedes, it's fair to say. Excuse me, got a little bit of a choke there. As Lopez 14th, Carr in 15th position there. Well, they'll be hoping to have a better third flying lap, especially Carr, considering that he is, of course, the new championship leader. Patel currently in 6th at the moment. Lamborghini having a decent first lap there in 6th and 9th position. But so far, just like we saw in practice, a Red Bull 1-2. But Garber this time above Roke this time by. Garber maybe just holding it back a little bit from practice earlier on, Ra.
Yeah. But we will see once we get into the next few runs and maybe into Q2 and Q3 if he gets through.
Indeed so, as Fraser gets wheeled back into the garage. So far then, in the drop zone, we have Quag, Q-Pox, Sontag, Griffiths, Motrin, and Anderson so far. Quag currently in the drop zone in front of his home race. That's not exactly what he had in mind, given the season that he's had so far. Videri, though, fair to say, a very good first lap for him in 12th position. Pretty decent for him, given the season that he's had so far. As we wait to see who's going to be next on track now then, as we have just over 11 minutes to go in this session to determine who will go through into the second part of qualifying, as Patel getting ready to go along with his teammate Laura Chung, who's also in the garage waiting to go. Usually, of course, in the second flying laps, one driver gets left behind, so be interested to see who that will be on this occasion, as in fact it's going to be an Aston Martin who's first on track this time, as opposed to Kirishima De Rosa a little bit earlier on. In fact, that is De Rosa. In fact, he's currently behind Motrin. But Roland Motrin is the first on track for the second runs of Q1. And we'll keep an eye on to see who will get left behind during these second runs in Q number 1 now then, as Motrin makes his way out of turn 2 before making his way towards turns 3, 4 and 5 on the racetrack now then, quickly in through the right, then the left, and then through into the double right-hander he will go. I don't know if there was a bit of lag there for me, because I think my Discord's decided to have a bit of a moment on me there. So that's that really. And as a result...
Well, we have more cars out on the track. I think Joe is back. course, we'll be waiting. We'll be looking at who will be the last one. Well, who will stay behind for the second runs.
Did you give me your internet rather on that occasion? Because it decided to have a bit of a moment on me there.
Well, to be fair, I assume we both pretty much have the same internet provider, so.
Well, mine's Virgin Media. I don't know what yours
That's
is.
the same.
Anyway, well, there we are then. It must be a server thing. It came to you yesterday, and now it seems to have come to me today for a brief period. But anyway, Motrin's lap, as you just saw there, getting compromised by the AlphaTauri in front. So this lap, fair to say, in the bin, and that's not really good considering he's in the drop zone at the moment, Ra.
Yep, indeed. I'm a little bit surprised that Kiro has even caught up to him in that McLaren.
Yeah, indeed. As there is Kira, in fact, who's just there at the moment. Kira could get a clean lap in as a result of that, but we'll have to wait and see what it's like when it comes to the AlphaTauri. As Motrin tries to overtake the AlphaTauri of QPOC into the chicane, but QPOC saying no to that. They got a little bit too close for comfort, and now we can see that De Rosa is starting to now get onto the gearbox of Roland Motrin. And will De Rosa actually try and move into this long right-hander then? Is this the one that's called Signa then? Rob, if you're still in the chat, of course, from practice. But De Rosa's lap has now also been compromised, as you can see there. So both of their laps down the drain. In De Rosa's case, you could say he could be arguably safe, considering he's up in 8th. But not in the case of Roland Motrin at the moment. He's down in 25th position. In fact, both Aston Martins currently on the back row of the grid, and we've seen for most of the season, and Aston Martin has always been on the back row of the grid this season, and maybe that could be a continuation into this race. We'll have to wait and see on that. As Motrin now then down the pit straight, and across the line will go the Hungarian driver. No improvement for him, and no improvement for De Rosa either. Sontag is about to start a lap. Here comes Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini, as he's now coming around the final corner. In fact, it's Amelia Wilson who's the one who's been left behind on this occasion, so she is deciding to wait a bit for her next flying lap. Patel, no improvement for him. Here comes Franco Garma, the man at the top, but so far not looking like he's going to improve on that 1 minute 28.800, and he doesn't by 1/10 of a second. Lopez is not on improving. I wonder if that's got something to do with that Ferrari over there, and it might do because Galloway's improved to go up into 5th position as Fraser goes up to 15th, so Carr is just in the cusp of that top 16 threshold. Chung goes up into 7th as here comes Amar Khan, who is on an improvement meanwhile. Let's see what Amar Khan is able to do. Across the line he will go, and he goes up into 5th, so that's much needed improvement there. Anderson's on improvement. He goes only up to 18th, still in the drop zone. Brennan still no improvement, stays in 10th. Willows doesn't improve, he stays in 3rd. Griffiths across the line, he will go, doesn't improve. Roke improves, but remains in 2nd place. Good, probably using a little bit of slipstream there. Byrne was improving, but loses time in the last sector and remains in 4th. Chatfield, no improvement for him. He stays where he is, which is 12th. Quarg's on improvement. He's currently in the drop zone, and he loses time in the last sector by a lot of time. Did he get held up, or did he make a mistake? I think this might be a mistake, and it is a mistake. It's just coming into turn into this left-hander right here, which is turn number 14.
Yep, indeed, and yeah, really costly, and wasn't really. He was up by only not much, but yeah, it could be pretty much costly. He could have improved by a lot more in the final sector.
Here comes Miklos Gal now then in the AlphaTauri. As a result, Quarg is still in the drop zone as a result of that mistake he made. Gal, across the line he will go, and he improves. He finds time in the last sector and goes up into 12th now then. So that's a big improvement there for Miklos Gal. QPOC across the line, no improvement, stays in 19th. Sontag is also not on an improvement, and he stays in 20th position. And I think these are these runs done with. So at the moment, it is still a Red Bull 1-2, and a lot of improvement is expected on that occasion. Robert, you could argue Quarg's mistake cost him a chance of getting in that top 16 threshold, and he'll need to go out again.
Yep, indeed. And Lopez still struggling, down in 15th at the moment.
Let's not forget he got held up by Galloway. Let's not forget he looked like he was interfering in his lap a little bit there. So Lopez, who we've seen quite a few times during this qualifying session, really struggling with the traffic.
Yep, indeed.
As just having a little drink there with lemonade. But anyway, because it is, even though it's quite cloudy here in the UK at the moment, with in fact it's actually raining where I am. In fact, it's only just started raining. Still quite humid though, despite that, because heat wave and all that. But anyway, this probably in the next lap will probably be the final flying laps that we see of Q1. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. There is just over 5 minutes left, but it just all depends really on how quickly everybody goes around the circuit really. So it'll be one really to keep an eye on. As hello Jafari's just joined us again in the stream chat, but at the moment in the drop zone we have Quarg, Anderson, Kupok, Sontag, Griffiths and Motrin, as Wilson is going to be the first on track this time. But of course she didn't go out previously, but this time she's going out and she's currently up in 7th place. So far a very strong session for Amelia Wilson, Ra.
Yep, indeed. And well, Fraser is just on the cusp in 16th, so far both passes are doing pretty well, but of course Fraser needs to improve to try and stay in the safe zone.
Especially given that Quarg, of course, was looking likely to be in that top 16 threshold, but before, of course, he made that mistake going through into turn 14 there. So that's kind of that, really, as Wilson now then goes down towards the bus stop chicane, the left, right, left chicane. And so through the left she will go, and then into the right. A few more cars have come out on track. Patel is on track, as is Lopez and Fraser, as is Motrin meanwhile. So both Lopez and Fraser probably do need to go out, considering they're pretty much on the Tiverine edge of the drop zone. Motrin giving himself potentially one last chance. I think it will be his last chance to try and see if he can get through into the next part of qualifying, given how much time there is left on the clock. As now Wilson comes around the double right hander of Boissé now, then into turn 14 she will go, as she prepares to start what potentially could be a final flying lap of Q number 1. I think she's probably safe anyway, given she's way up in 7th place, but better be safe than sorry, I guess. We'll have to wait and see on that as she now makes her way through into the final corner. Now, will there be any traffic by the time she makes her way down this pit straight? Let's see. She comes down the pit straight to start a second flying lap, of course. For most of them, it's their third, but this will be her second. And no traffic for her, so she'll be looking to see if she can find a little bit more time in her pocket as she now makes her way through to turns 1 and 2 now then. As she will now approach turns 3 and 4 and 5 very soon now they're on the track, where we have seen a few overtakes done in the past few seasons here at the Circuit Pour Ricard. Through the left-hander she goes, and now into the double right-hander will go Amelia Wilson, using the curve on the inside there, and now through turn 6, and she will now be approaching the end of the first section, which I think is just after turn number 7 over here. Let's see what her first sector is like now then, and she is 3 tenths down, in fact, on her personal best in the first sector now then. As one of the drop zone contenders is going to have to stay behind on this occasion, so one of them will get eliminated as a result. So it's either Kupok or Sontag. Let's see who it's going to be on the left hand side there. I've only just clocked onto that, and it's going to be Kupok. So I think it's safe to say, Rod, Kupok is out of this session.
Yep. A little bit disappointing considering the fact that Miklos Gal is in 12th, so Yafatari does have some promising signs of pace, but yeah, a bit disappointing. He could be lower than 19th if Sontag, Griffiths or Motrin improve.
Especially if you, given the fact that arguably you could say that most of that could come down from the straight, really, because we know that they've got a very powerful engine in the back. Anyway, Wilson comes down the pit straight and across the line. She will now go now then. Is she able to find a miracle in the last sector? And the answer to that is no. She stays in 7th. Gal starts his lap now then. Here comes Motrin, who's on improvement and goes up to 13th, pushes Fraser into the drop zone now then. As we look at Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini, just makes his way through into turns 14 now then. Coming around the long swooping right-hander now then in towards the final 2 turns on the racetrack will go Rahul Patel as he now makes his way through the final corner of turn 17. Down the pit straight he will go. He doesn't look like he's on an improvement, but let's see if he can find any miracle in the last sector. Patel, across the line he will go in the Lamborghini and he stays in P9. Here comes Daniel Fraser, who's looking like he's not on an improvement, and he doesn't improve. He is out. Lopez, meanwhile, doesn't improve, and he's 16th, so he's got to hope that he's done enough to get through. DeRosa, no improvement there. Here comes Laura Chung across the line. She will go now then in the Lamborghini. And Chung now then across the line. She will go. And no improvement. She stays where he is. Gamba also not on an improvement. Still on 1 minute 28.880. And that's the time he remains on. Anderson's not on an improvement. Across the line, he will go, and he improves, in fact, but goes in 18th, and Videri up to 14th, but that's not enough to push Lopez down, so he wasn't in the drop zone there. Carr, meanwhile, he's on an improvement, Across the line he will go, and he loses time in the last sector, so he stays in 5th position there. So Videri goes up to 14th there, just only gaining 1 place. Perrin doesn't improve, Roke doesn't improve. Galloway, meanwhile, across the line he will go, loses time in the last sector. Quag is on improvement across the line, and he loses time in the last sector. Quag is out of his own race, he's out in Q1. Quag eliminated in the first part of qualifying there. And Gal, meanwhile, is also not on an improvement at this point, but it won't really matter anyway because he's in 12th and he stays in 12th as a result. Here comes Jamie Griffiths, who's up on his personal best, up on his personal best by 3 tenths, but that's not going to be enough, I don't think, to get him through, given the gap between himself and Lopez, which is 5 tenths. But we'll wait and see on that now then, as Griffiths now then, across the line he will go in the Williams, and where does he go? He goes 18th, so he's out. Willows goes up to 3rd, Chatfield goes up into 2nd place there. Byrne across the line, he will go in the Renault, and he stays in 5th position. Fraser has obviously finished his lap. Sontag, last one who could potentially knock Lopez out, but he's not improving. In fact, he found a little bit of time in the middle sector, so we'll have to wait and see what his last sector is going to be like. Sontag now then coming down the pit straight, and across the line he will go. Could he potentially push Lopez out? Across the line will go the German driver, and no, he can't. He is out and he remains in last position. So Lopez, very lucky to get through into Q2 there, but he will need to find some time in Q2 if he wants to advance into Q3. But there we have it then. That is Q1 done with. It's Garma top from Chatfield 2nd and Roke in 3rd. And your bottom 6 are Daniel Fraser, Jamie Griffiths, Julius Anderson, Roman Quag, David Kupak, and Felix Sontag. So what do you make of that session, Ra?
Pretty much a exciting session with Gal making it through. Of course, Federi made it through to Q2, but Quag, a big shock here in 20th as well. And Mochin as well, going through to Q2 as well. And Lopez pretty lucky to survive.
Yeah, indeed, because otherwise that could have been another disastrous qualifying for Lopez right there. But luckily, he has made it through into Q2, but he will need to really pick it up if he wants to get into Q3, that's for sure.
Yep.
Anyway, we're just going to take a brief pause to allow Yuri to do what he needs to do to get Q number 2 sorted out. But in the meantime, guys, you can let us know your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in the second part of qualifying. But in the meantime, I'm just going to sort this tweet out. So apologies if I do go a little bit silent for the moment. So just bear with me, guys. There now. So anyway, in Q1, Ra, I think it's fair to say, in fact, he's currently away at the moment, so I'll ask him back in just a little bit. But I think it's fair to say after Q1, Red Bull still looking particularly strong at the moment. Only this time it was going at the top, but they were separated by Chris Chatfield right towards the end of the session, and Joseph Willows even put in a very good time towards the end of the session to go up into 4th position. But whether those two can keep that up, it is going to be a question. But so far, Red Bull looking particularly strong at the moment. But as we've seen several times in the qualifying sessions, that stuff can change. So between sessions, so it will be very, very interesting to see how that one develops in these remaining 2 sessions here in the qualifying session. So of course, Lopez, of course, as we touched upon a little bit earlier, will really need to pick up his game if he wants to get through into Q3. And, well, got very, very lucky there indeed. And clearly, Mercedes still suffering a little bit at the moment, you could argue, with a little bit of inconsistency when it comes to qualifying pace. Because we know their race pace is fantastic. We've seen it several times during this season that they've been able to make some brilliant comebacks. But their quali pace just seem to be a little bit inconsistent so far. So, we'll we'll have to wait and see how that one sort of develops for Lopez. But for Carr, it's not been too much of an issue in queue number 1, because I think he was around about, where was he? He was around about 6th, wasn't he, at the end of queue number 1? So interesting to see what Q2 has to offer. Ross still not with me at the moment. I think he's still busy trying to sort something out at the moment. So he'll be back in just a little tick. So that's why you're just hearing me at the moment. So it will be interesting to see. Of course, for Quag, a little bit disappointing, really, for him, given that this is his first ever home race in the top class, and he's going to have it all to do tomorrow from 20th on the grid. Videri out qualifying him in this session. But anyway, we've got the screen back up. Rari's still not with us at the moment, so I think he's going to miss the first part of this anyway. So Q2 is about to get underway, so without further ado, let's get into this. And I'll ask Ra later on, because I think he's still currently unavailable at the moment, because he's muted himself. So anyway, as you can see, the loading screen is up. So my predictions then for Q number 2 is going to be, I think... who is in there? I think Wilson will be eliminated. I think Gal will be eliminated in the AlphaTauri. I think... who else is there? I think Mottram will also be eliminated in the Aston Martin. I think a Lamborghini will get eliminated as well. I think as well a McLaren will get eliminated. I'm going to go a little bit bold on that one. And I'm also going to go bold and say Mercedes will get eliminated. That's my prediction right there. Ra, are you back with us now? No, it seems he's still muted at the moment. I don't know if he's left a call or not, because I did hear something rumbling in my ear. So I don't know if he's got similar problems or whether he's just having to do something that's taking him a little bit of a while. But speaking of which, Rahul Patel is out on the racetrack now then. He's going to be the first on the track, in fact, unless somebody beats him to the punch like we saw in Q1 a little bit earlier on. And nobody does. So Patel will be the first car on track now then for Q number 2. And he's now going to... You're back now, Ra? Okay, yeah. So... you have to do something because you were muted, it said on Discord.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So I'll ask you what your prediction is then for Q2.
Hold on. What was your prediction again?
Really? Are you trying to fix mine?
Somewhat similar.
Well, I said Mottram, Gal, Wilson, a Lamborghini, a McLaren, and a Mercedes. That was my prediction.
I'm gonna go for Anders. What the hell? Mottram. Mottram, Videri, Gal, a Lamborghini, a Mercedes, and I'm gonna say a Ferrari.
Okay, very interesting. Let's see what everybody else has to say now. We eventually get there. So, Jafari has said an Alpha, an AlphaTauri, a Haas, both Ferraris, and a Mercedes. Fonchanek has said Gal, Wilson, Mottram, Videri, a Lambo, and a Mercedes. And Dennis believes Mottram, Gal, Wilson, Videri, Lopez, and Chung will get eliminated. So, that's their prediction. And anyway, Rahul Patel is about to start his first final lap of Q2. All 16 cars are now out on the racetrack. You may have just briefly heard, because it has been a little bit of a while for the top class, you may have just briefly heard Dog commentator there. So anyway, as Patel has just started his lap as he comes through turns 1 and 2 now then, as he makes his way using a lot of curb on the exit at turn 2 there, before making his way down towards a little bit of a run before he head towards this little complex of turns 3, 4 and 5, and then into 6. So through 5 he goes, and then into turn 6, which is quite a medium speed corner. You can go a little bit on the edge of this part of the track in real life, but of course the game doesn't allow him to go towards that edge. But Patel, selected time, what's it going to be? A 31.838 in the first sector for Rahul Patel. Let's see what everybody else is doing in the first sector. 31.718 for teammate Chung in the first sector there. So Chung going a little bit quicker than Patel in the first sector. 31.983 for Willows, a 32.166. Those two times came quite close together, so I wonder if Willows and Mottram are potentially impeding each other. 32.168 for Videri, 32.336 for Wilson, 31.592 for Roke. at 31.931 for Byrne, as Patel does a 57.722 in the middle sector there, and a 57.633 for Chung in the middle sector as well. 57.929 for Willows there, 58.151 for Motran, 58.029 for Byrne, 57.482 for Chatfield, 57.633 for Chung, we've already mentioned that, and that's that really. So Patel now then coming down the pit straight now then, not the best middle sector for Roke, I should point out as well. I don't know if he's made a mistake, but Patel, a 1:29.624 is the benchmark time. Chong across the line goes quickest by a tenth of a second. Here comes Roland Motran in the Aston Martin. Across the line he will go, and he goes into third. Willows goes into third himself there. Slots in front of Motran as Videri goes into fifth. Byrne across the line goes into fourth as Chatfield goes quickest by 0.2 of a second. Here comes Wilson, who's side by side with Roke. So yeah, Roke in fact is actually getting held up. That's why his time started to disappear there. 8th and 9th for the pair of them. Perinin goes into fourth. Gal across the line, he will go, slots into seventh. Here comes Amar Kar in the Mercedes as he rounds the final turn. The championship leader now then comes down at the pit straight, and Amar Kar is now going to cross the line in the Mercedes. Where is he going to emerge? Across the line, goes into fifth. Franco Gama in the Red Bull. Can he go to the top of the timing sheets? Across the line, no he can't. Slots to seventh, 1/10 behind Chris Chatfield. Here comes Kirishima De Rosa in the McLaren. Across the line, he will now go in the McLaren now then. De Rosa across the line, slots into 7th, exactly 7/10 behind Chatfield. Galloway across the line goes into 10th. Lopez, can he improve on his Q1 disaster? He can. He goes up into 2nd place now then. And that's the first lap's done with Chatfield, the man who took pole position in Spain, at the top of the time sheet with Lopez in second. But I would imagine there's a little bit more to come from Rokra, given that he got held up by Wilson.
Yep, indeed, of course. He was strong in the first sector and lost a lot of time due to being held up by Wilson in the middle sector. And those two, I think, they can improve. And Byrne, not the best lap for him. He's only in 10th on the cusp. Galloway in 12th, but Galloway in 11th. A little bit surprising there, but yeah, it is pretty close.
It is indeed. So far then, in the bottom six then, we have Galloway, Gal, Motran, Videri, Roku, of course, got held up by Wilson, and Wilson, who subsequently as well got held up a little bit by Roke. So you could expect, like we saw in Q1, a lot of improvements to be made on the second flying laps. Only difference is nobody's going to get left behind on this occasion, because there are player cars on this occasion as well to ensure that the 6 that got eliminated in Q1 don't come back out on the track. As Chung is now going to get pushed into the garage as well. So far, Chatfield top by 10th out of Lopez and Gamba. So 2 Francos currently following Chatfield at this point in time. And the McLaren's currently 8th and 9th at the moment. Byrne just in the cusp of the top 10 at the moment. Just literally tithering on the edge, it's fair to say. As mentioned, we should expect some improvements on the second lap, especially to those who got held up on their first following laps of Q number 2. As we have just over 8 3/4 minutes to go in this session, and it will be interesting to see who will be first to come out for the second runs of Q number 2, as we wait to see who that will be, as Chung gets herself ready to go out on track as well. Same with Patel, who's currently right next to her as well, just on the right hand side. And is Patel going to go out first like he did earlier on, or is somebody going to beat him to the punch this time by? As we wait for some movement on the right-hand side, which there isn't any, but now there is. So it looks like Patel, he's getting ready to go out on track. And is he going to get out first before someone else? Let's see. And the answer to that is yes. So Patel will once again be the first to go out onto the racetrack for the second runs of Q2. And currently in 5th place at the moment. So a decent showing for the Lamborghinis in this session. Currently in 4th and 5th position. Whether they can stay there, though, for the remainder of the session, it will be interesting to see. If I'm not mistaken, Lamborghini is still yet to get both of their cars through into Q number 3. I can't remember if they did that in Monaco, of course, because it was 3 weeks ago. But
I think
they did. So they've already achieved that then. So that's that. So I guess we don't need to keep on asking that question anymore. So anyway, Chatfield has gone out on the track, as has Willows, as has Roke. Roke definitely needs to go out there because, of course, he got held up by Wilson. He'll be hoping he can get a clearer bit of track this time by. Byrne is also out on track, as is Gal, and they're all going to be basically going one after another, really. As you'll see on the left-hand side, as the pit indicator gets turned off for every single driver. Patel will be hoping there'll be no traffic on his second flying lap as well, so that'll be something to keep an eye on, as Patel will make his way now then through the fast, flat-out right-hander now then. As he now makes his way towards the double right-hander of Boissé now then. in towards turn 13 there, and now approaching turn number 14. He will go now, then flicking the car in through the left-hander down, then using a bit of curb on the inside and a bit on the outside as well, as he now will approach the final 2 turns on the racetrack now. Then in the Lamborghinis, he flicks the car in through the second to last corner, and now into the final corner he will now go as he makes his way onto the pit straight now then, and Patel is going to cross the line now then, as Patel is going to start his his second flying lap of Q2, I should say. I don't know why I said first though, as he flings his way through into turns 1 and 2 on the racetrack, using the curb on the outside, as he will now make his way towards turns 3, 4 and 5 pretty soon now then, so flicking it in for the right, then into the left, and then into the double right-handers of turns 5 and 6 he will go, as he'll soon be approaching the end of the first sector pretty soon now then, through the long swooping turn 6, and now approaching turn 7 he will now go, and let's see what his first sector is like compared to his personal best, as he is actually up on Chatfield in the first sector by 7,000 of a second and 2 tenths up on his personal best. So Patel already looking like he's on improvement, providing he doesn't make a mistake of course. He now goes through the bus stop chicane now then of turns 8, 9, and I don't think that's actually classed as a corner if I'm not mistaken on this track, so he's just gone around the chicane there, as he will now approach the flat out right-hander before he'll soon approach the end of sector 2 pretty soon. Let's see what his second sector is like, and he's still up, and he's improved a little bit more. He's now 71 thousandths up on Chatfield in the second sector and 3 tenths up on his personal best. Now he approaches turns 14 now then on the track, flicking it in through the left-hander, and it'll be interesting to see if anybody else is on an improvement now then, as Patel now then goes around the second to last corner, and now into the final corner will come Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini, as he now makes his way down the pit straight and across the line. He will now go now then in the Lambo. Across the line now then will go the Indian driver, and he goes quickest by a tenth of a second, a 1:29.113. Of course, that's not the quickest we've seen in qualifying so far, because Garber did a 1:28.880, I believe it was, in Q1. I will double check on that, but it was in the 1:28, so I can assure you of that. Chatfield, meanwhile, is not improving meanwhile, so it doesn't look like he's going to try and get back on the top step. And no, he does not improve. Wallow's crossed the line to go into third position, so an improvement for him, as Roke is on improvement. Well, he needs to, really, because he's currently in the drop zone. Roke across the line, he will go in the Red Bull, and he goes up into fourth position, so that's more like it. Byrne, meanwhile, is also on improvement because he's now been dropped into the drop zone because of Roke, and only goes up to 10th, only pushes De Rosa in the drop zone but only just. Gal doesn't improve and stays in 13th. Galloway is on improvement, and he's in the drop zone, so could he push Byrne back into the drop zone? He can. He goes up into 8th position. Here comes Andre Vaderi in the Alfa Romeo. He's also on an improvement. Across the line, he will go now then, and he goes 13th, so not in the top 10, but Motrin gets in the top 10, pushes Carr in the drop zone there. So that's very impressive there. Chung and Perrin don't improve. Lopez is not improving, and he's currently in 5th, and he's going to remain in 5th. Garber is on improvement. Can he go to the top? Yes, he can, by 73 thousandths of a second. Garber to the top with a 1:29.040. Wilson is on improvement and goes into 14th. Carr is on improvement. Can he get into the top 10? He can. Goes up to second. 27 thousandths off his rival, Franco Garmer there, and that pushes Motrin back in the drop zone, and that is the second run's done with, and Byrne needs to be quick, because otherwise he could be eliminated here in Renault's own race.
Yep, indeed. Pretty just about on the cusp, but he could be safe.
We'll have to wait and see on that, but so far not been the best of sessions for either of the Renaults there, but Carr finding the pace he needed, same with Roke, and to get himself into the top 10, same goes with Jake Galloway as well. And briefly there, we saw Motrin get into the top 10, but of course in the end he's been bumped back down into the drop zone. Now, question is, will any of these guys get one more lap in before the session comes to a close? They've got to get out there before the 1:29 threshold on the timer on the top of your screen to be certain that they're going to get another lap in. If they don't get out before that time, then that's curtains in terms of them doing a second flying lap, I would suspect. So a third flying lap, I should say, not a second flying lap. They've already just done their second flying lap. So we'll wait and see on that as the seconds tick down on the clock just on the top of your screen there. So we'll wait and see how that one develops, really. But so far, both Lamborghinis having another strong session, it's fair to say. But Garber, again, looking very strong so far in his qualifying session, Ra.
Yep, indeed. He could be the favourite for pole, but we will see once we get into Q3. But we have to see who will be eliminated.
Indeed, so as Chung will get her car wheeled back into the garage now then. Let's see if anybody will go out before that 1 minute 29 threshold now then, as we've got 2 minutes left, so not that long left now. So 30 seconds left before that threshold arrives, and let's see where if anybody will go out now then. 1 minute 50 seconds now left on the clock as the seconds tick down, as we wait to see if anybody will be moving or not. And let's not forget, this pit lane is also quite long as well. 10 seconds left. I think it is going to be pretty tight for people who want to do another flying lap. And will that McLaren get enough time? That is Joseph Willows, and this is a very long pit lane. Let's not forget about that. And I don't think he's going to get enough time, I'm afraid. So, as far as I'm concerned, given that the start-finish line is just behind there, I think that's pretty much game over, really. So, and yeah, for the bottom six, it is. So, Byrne out of qualifying, Ra.
Big shot there for Renault, and in their home race, and same for Kirosama De Rosa as well. He's also out as well.
De Rosa also out, so only one Renault and one McLaren will be advancing into the final part of qualifying. But both Mercedes is through into Q3. I think Lopez and Carr will be relieved of that, given the inconsistency that Mercedes have shown in qualifying over the past few races. And Lamborghini, once again, getting their cars through into Q3 as well. Could we potentially see an outside chance for Lamborghini to try and get pole, given the pace that we saw from Patel in this session? Let's not forget, Patel has already had a pole position this season. That was back at the Australian Grand Prix, of course, in his and Lamborghini's first ever race. So nobody can ever take that one away from Lamborghini. In a way. So, yeah, that's pretty much that, really. And it will be interesting to see how the third part of qualifying is going to fare out and who will take pole position for tomorrow's French Grand Prix. But just for clarity, let's see if Willows does have enough time. I don't think he will, but this is just for clarity anyway. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... 0. Checkered flag is out, and yep, that's pretty much that. Nobody will get another lap in. So Garber top, Carr in second, and Patel in third. And your bottom six who have been eliminated are Roland Motrin, Evan Byrne, Kirishima De Rosa, Emilia Wilson, Andre Videri, and Miklos Gal. So pretty interesting session, Ram. I mean, we could be in for a very interesting Q3.
Yep, indeed. And Roland Martin did a great lap to get his Aston Martin into 11th. Of course, just missing out in the top 10, getting into Q3. But P11, it's a good qualifying for him.
Indeed so, and in fact, I'm trying to think. In fact, Anderson even on the back row of the grid? I don't think he is. So I think. I think it's very rare to see, if that is the case, and I think it's very rare that we see no Aston Martin on the back row of the grid. So I guess that's an achievement for them if that's true. I will quickly double check on that before I say anything else. Let me just quickly double check on that. And yeah, so neither Aston Martin on the back row, Ra. That's a change.
Yep. A big surprise there, but then again, that their car isn't as slow as the AlphaTauri and the Williams, so it should not be at the back row of the grid. But yeah, at least they have done well to get out that bottom zone.
Yes, indeed. And, well, we've known that they just don't seem to have good qualifying pace, but clearly today, a different story, it must be said. So we'll have to wait and see how that performs in the race, because we know they do well in races. But anyway, we're just going to take a brief pause as we wait for Q3 to get underway. But in the meantime, guys, you can let us know your prediction on who you believe will take pole position for tomorrow's French Grand Prix. So in the meantime, I'm just going to write out this tweet, so apologies if I do go a little bit silent for the moment. And there we go. That's that tweet sorted out. So hopefully we're in for another exciting Q3. But so far, the Red Bulls have topped every session so far, Ra. So who knows really where if Red Bull could get another pole here. Obviously, I'll not ask your prediction just yet. I'll wait until the loading screen. But so far, looking good for them so far, especially given that they need to bounce back after what happened in Monaco.
Yeah, and they're responding it very well at the moment, but also the race is tomorrow, so that's the important part for them.
Anyway, the stream is now back up for us, and we're going to get Q3 on the way. So without further ado, let's find out who's going to take pole position for tomorrow's French Grand Prix. And now, actually, Ra, who do you believe will be on pole position? Do you think it will be a Red Bull, or do you think it will be someone else?
I think it will be a Red Bull.
Which Red Bull?
I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna go about this, say George Rook. Mainly because, of course, he hasn't been quickest. That's why I'm saying it's bold. And yeah, I think he could surprise us.
Okay, I'm going to play it safe and say Franco Gamba will get pole position. He actually, of course, as you can see from the thumbnail, actually took pole position last season, of course. So could he make it 2 pole positions in a row here at Paul Ricard? We'll have to wait and see on that. But we're now in the garage getting ready for the third part of qualifying. And let's see who's going to be first on track then here in queue number 3 now then. As we find out who will take pole position for tomorrow's French Grand Prix. And will it be Patel that's going to be first on track again, just like we saw in queue number 2? Let's see as the mechanics get ready around his car. Will anybody beat him to the punch? I'm trying to see on the mini-map if there's any more movement, and I don't think there is. So I think Patel is going to be first. In fact, no, Chung actually beats him to it. So Lamborghini not wasting any time and sending both of their drivers out there first. So Chung is going to be the first to do a lap, followed by Patel and then Perinen in third position there. Roke will be fourth on track in the Red Bull, arguably one of the favourites to try and go for pole today, given that how strong Red Bull have shown so far. But Chung is on track, so let's read your guys' prediction. So Dennis has said Franco Gamba will take pole position, whereas Fonchanek Shani has said that Armar Carr will go for pole position. So interesting indeed. Fonchanek deciding not to go for a Red Bull, instead deciding to go for the Mercedes of Armar Carr. We will wait and see on that really. But anyway, 6 cars are now out on track, just 4 more cars left to go out on the racetrack in this final part of qualifying. Now make that 3 because the 7th car has just joined on the track. Patel, Rope, Perinin, Lopez, Carr, Gamba, Chung and Galloway are now out on track. Galloway's then just joined us on the track, so 2 more cars left to go on track. Chatfield has now joined the track. Just 1 more car needing to go out now then. I think that's Joseph Wells in the McLaren, and it is. So all 10 cars are now out on track, so Chung should not have any issues when it comes to traffic, unless Rahul Patel closes up and passes her on the circuit. Then again, that would not please the bosses over at Lamborghini if that were the case. So anyway, as Chung now then approaching turn number 14 now then, as she uses a bit of curb on the inside there, and Patel's not close enough to get hold of Chung, so I don't think there's going to be any issues there when it comes to Lamborghini's hot laps, as Roke's got a bit of a gap to Perinin, so I don't think he's going to have any issues when it comes to traffic there either. But anyway, Chung now then about to start her first flying lap of queue number 3, as she now starts her lap now then, because of course that's where the line is, a little bit further down on this track for some reason. But anyway, Chung now then down towards turn 1 she will go, through turns 1, then into turn 2 she will go, as she just avoids the curb a little bit on the outside there before approaching turns 3, 4 and 5 on the racetrack. So through turn 3, then into turn 4, and then into the double right-handers of turns 5 and 6. Pretty much over 90 degrees through into there, then through the long sweeping turn 6 before going flat out through turn 7 and then approaching the end of the first sector. Let's see what their first sector is like, and it is a 31.526. Patel meanwhile does a 31.979, so in fact he's 4/10 off of Chung in the first sector. 31.445 for Perinin and 31.512 for Roke in the first sector that time by. So 4 times already on the board there. A 31.610 for Gamba. So in fact he's actually down on Perinin in the first sector there. And even on Chung as well, let's not forget. As now coming around the end of the second sector, 57.403 for Chung there in the second sector, 57.255 for Perinin, 57.352 for Roke, 57.894 for Patel there. Around the final 2 turns, then we'll go Perinin, a 57.544 for Gamba in the second sector there then. And now Chung coming around the final turn, so let's see what the benchmarker time is going to be then for the Lamborghini drivers. Laura Chung is about to cross the line now then. Chung across the line, she will now go, and she does a 1 minute 28.909. Patel across the line, he will go, and he goes into second, 9/10 off of Chung, as Perinin goes to the top by 71 thousandths of a second. Roach slots to third behind Chung. Here comes Garber now then in the second Red Bull. He was down on both Chung and Perinin in the first two sectors. Can he find anything in the last sector? No, he can't. Slots to fourth, actually slots behind Roke as well. Lopez in the Mercedes, across the line he will go. The reigning champion goes into fifth. Here comes Ricard, the championship leader, who's actually way down on Perinin in the second sector by 0.8 of a second. So let's see where Carr ends up after this lap, as Ricard now then is going to cross the line and goes into seventh. Not a very good lap there for the championship leader. Galloway across the line, he will go in the Ferrari and goes quickest by 1/10 of a second. Jake Galloway to the top of the timing sheet. So Ferrari seems to be coming alive in this session. Chatfield, his teammate, goes into 7th place, not quite close to Galloway that time by. Willows across the line in the McLaren, only 8 for him, and that's the first one's done. And surprisingly, Galloway at the top of the timing sheets in the Ferrari. Where's that come from, Ra?
Didn't really expect that one, but it could be setup related. I think, well, the Red Bulls are only 4th and 5th, so I feel like they might have not gone the right setup, but then again, it's only around pretty much 10 minutes to go. But yeah, of course, there is a lot of drivers that can improve, but we'll have to wait and see.
Just want to read out 2 more predictions that came out as well just before those laps started. Chris Chatfield said Roke for pole, and Jafari said Garber for pole. So that's that really, and that's before the first lap's got even done there. So Chung now then in the pits, and so we will wait to see what the second flying laps of Q3 have to offer now then. She will be preparing for her second flying lap, along with Rahul Patel as well, and pretty much all the other drivers as well. And so far, Galloway at the top by 1/10 ahead of Hazers Perinin, meanwhile. And at one point as well, Galloway was a Renault driver, let's not forget. And that's the driver, of course, that Perinin did replace as well. So, yeah, not a Renault front row, I'm afraid. But, yeah, that's pretty much that, because Galloway, of course, decided to go to Ferrari for the season. Of course, Galloway has got a victory this season, let's not forget. He got victory at the Spanish Grand Prix, of course, 2 races ago. But he's never had a pole position, I'm pretty sure, in the OC, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think Galloway's ever got pole position. So, at the moment, obviously Chatfield got his first ever pole back in Spain. Could Galloway maybe replicate that? Of course, we've still got plenty of time left on the clock, so anything could still change. But at the moment, Ferrari, well, in the hands of Galloway at least, because Chatfield only went 7th on his first flying lap. Looking pretty good so far. Ferrari, I wouldn't really associate this as more of a downforce track, to be honest. I'd say it's a mixture of the two, because you've got the long straight, of course, the long Mistral straight, and then you've got the rest of the course, which is all downforce. So that's probably where the Ferrari is gaining its time. But, yeah, I wouldn't really associate this as more of a downforce track. I'd say it's a bit of both, really. But clearly, Ferrari taking advantage of the areas where they're strongest at. So, but anyway, it looks like Chung's about to go out on track again, because her mechanics are getting ready on the left-hand side there, as we ride on board with Rahul Patel at the moment. So we will see Chung emerge on track, and there she goes. So Chung, once again, going out first on track for the second runs of Q3. Could they potentially be the final ones, like we saw earlier on in Q number 2? We'll have to wait and see on that. But Chung is now out on the racetrack in the Lamborghini. She now makes her way into turns 1 and 2 on the racetrack. As now, she will now approach turns 3, 4 and 5 pretty soon now then. So flicking the car in through the right, then into the left, and then into the double right-hander we will go. So now into turn 6 we go. The long swooping right-hander as Chung prepares for her second flying lap. Also on track is George Roke. He actually beats Patel on track. Patel actually deciding to wait a little bit longer that time by, and now decides to go out on track along with Perinin and current pole sitter Jake Galloway, who's just about to go out onto the racetrack as well. So we've got a few cars now out on the racetrack here at the Ricard circuit. Just 5 cars need to go out on track now then, that being Garber, Lopez, Chatfield, Willows and Carr. Make that 4 now, because Garber's only just come out onto the racetrack, and now Chatfield has just gone out on track. So that's that, as now Chung now then approaches the double right-hander now then, and she'll be hoping that Willows gets out before she makes it, which he does. So Chung will yet again not encounter any traffic, so another clean lap for Laura Chung, who currently lies in 3rd position so far in this qualifying session. can she potentially try and challenge for pole position? She hasn't had a pole since 2019, let's not forget. Technically, her last pole was at the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix, but that was given to her on a technicality after Miklos Gal got a 5-place grid penalty for that race. So the last time she legitimately got pole on pure pace was, I think, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix of 2019. So it has been a little bit of a while since we saw Chung on pole position, and the last time she actually got victory in the top class was actually at Sochi in 2019. So that is now Chung goes around turns 3, 4 and 5 now. Then she will go, and we'll see what her first sector is going to be like pretty soon now. Then through turn 6 we go, and now into turn number 7 we'll go the Lamborghini driver. Let's see what her first sector is like compared to Jake Galloway. And her first sector, she's actually half a second down, in fact nearly 6 tenths down on her personal best, and just over 6 tenths down on Galloway in the first sector. So this is not looking like a very good second flying lap for Laura Chung on this occasion. And I mentioned this could be the final flying lap, so we'll have to wait and see on that, given how much time there is left on the clock. She will now come towards the flat-out right-hander now then. So flat-out through the right-hander she will go before approaching the Boissé corner. The Boissé double right-hander. And again, she is down in the middle sector by 7 tenths of a second down on her personal best. So this is not looking like an improvement for Laura Chung. So not the best of laps here for the Lamborghini driver and the 4-time race winner. Chung now then approaches the final 2 turns on the racetrack now. So flicking it in through turn 16. And now into turn number 17 she will now go. She now makes her way onto the pit straight, and Laura Chung now then is going to cross the line in the Lamborghini. Across the line she will now go, and she does not improve and stays in 3rd place, over a second off her personal best there. Roke is also not an improvement, but not by much in fact. But Roke, can he find some time in the last sector? He can't, and he stays in 4th position. Patel is on the improvement meanwhile, but he's not up on Galloway. He's 4 tenths down on Galloway, but he is up on his personal best, but I think only by 800ths, I believe that said on the graphic that was on the left-hand side there. As Patel now then comes around the final turn and onto the pit straight. He's got Jesus Perinen just behind as well, so we'll keep an eye on what Perinen is doing at the moment. He's currently on the front row of the grid. Patel, across the line he will go, and he only 9th on that occasion. The Perinin doesn't improve and stays in 2nd. Galloway not on an improvement. He crosses the line and stays on 1 minute 28.735. Gamba is also not on an improvement. This is very interesting. Franco Gamba across the line. He will go now then in the Red Bull, and no improvement. He stays in 5th. Chatfield's on improvement and goes up to 4th. So a big improvement there. 1st and 4th for the 2 Ferraris. As Carr is on improvement across the line, he will go, and he slots into 6th place there. Lopez is not on an improvement, and the McLaren of Willows there. I'm not sure if these two have been impeding each other. Lopez hasn't improved, and nor does Willows either. So neither of them improved. Now, was that a mistake, or was it because of Willows, which is why Lopez actually set a poor lap? And I'm going to presume it was a mistake, because as you can see, Lopez was far away at that point. Yes, there, look, he actually did a bit of a Tokyo drift through into turn 4 there,
And might have cost him dear here, unfortunately. And yeah, could have cost him a lot of positions.
He really did Tokyo drift there as a result, and as a result, not able to improve on his 6th place, which later became, well, 8th really, as we saw people improving. Well, these runs done. Now, whether that will be it for qualifying, we'll have to wait and see, because it depends really on how quickly everybody can get out on the racetrack, as we saw a little bit earlier on in Q2. So we can't officially confirm that Jake Galloway is on pole yet until we see if somebody else goes out on track before the 1 minute 28 threshold. We'll have to wait and see, of course. And let's not forget how long this pit lane is as well. So that's also something to take into account as well. But so far, looking good for Galloway to get his first ever pole, Ra.
Yep, indeed. And will be a surprising pole, considering the fact that Franco Gamba was quickest in Q1 and Q2.
Yeah, it will be indeed, and especially given where the Red Bulls are, which is 5th and 7th in this session. Not really ideal, considering that they're trying to claw back all the points that they lost, especially in the case of Garver over the last few races, which has really cost them dearly in both the Drivers and the Constructors' Championships so far. Hence why they're not leading any of them anymore, and Red Bull find themselves all the way down in 3rd, behind both Mercedes, who lead the Constructors, and Renault, of course. So 2 manufacturers in front of them at the moment. And you could arguably say Red Bull is sort of a manufacturer team, given that they've got Honda engines, but at the same time not, given that they're not really making cars. Well, I say that, they are making a hypercar soon, aren't they, in real life? But that, I don't think that counts anyway. But anyway, as we wait to see if this is the end of Q3 as the seconds tick down on the clock, just on the top of your screen there. And we'll have to wait and see on that, as there is still just over 2 minutes left on the clock. We'll wait and see if anybody else goes out before that 1 minute 28 threshold, as you can see on the left-hand side there. So just over 2 minutes left. We'll chung blink and go out on track before the end of the session. Let's wait and see. 30 seconds left before we get onto that 1 minute 28 threshold now then, as we're into the final 2 minutes of this qualifying session. Will Lamborghini blink before then? They need to be quick if they want to, as we wait to see if anybody will blink. It's going to be pretty tight, I think, again, just like we saw in Q2 a little bit earlier on. In fact, a Red Bull is going out, but will Roke get out in time? 34, 33, 32, 31, 30, 29. It's going to be pretty tight, I think, so Roke might just have enough to do one more lap, but it all really depends if he gets around on track in time. So let's wait and see. But whatever the case is, Roke is going to be the only one to do a lap. Should he have just done enough to go out there, Ra?
Yeah. Of course, he's only in 5th. He could have a chance to snatch pole away from Jake Galloway, but of course we will have to wait and see if he makes it on time.
See, of course, as he just comes out of turn number 5 there, making his way down the Mistral Straight now then, well, the first part of the Mistral Straight before it gets separated by this bus stop chicane, which can provide an overtaking opportunity in the race. And it's also where we've seen a few collisions in the past as well, especially at the start as well. Usually at the start of the races, that corner can get very interesting, so that'll be something to keep an eye on, definitely. But anyway, Roke is now coming up towards the flat out right-hander now then. Flat out he will go, as he'll now approach the double right-hander of Boissé. As I said, this is going to be tight for him to see if he has done enough to give himself one more chance to try and see if he can get on pole position. Let's see. Through the left-hander then goes George Roke, as he now makes his way towards the final 2 turns on the racetrack. Has he done enough to do one more flying lap as the seconds tick down? So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and he hasn't done it. Roke has not done enough to do a lap, so it means as a result, Jake Galloway, for the first ever time in his career, is going to be on pole position for tomorrow's French Grand Prix. Red Bull just miscalculated there, and as a result, it's given Ferrari their second pole of the season, this time in the form of Jake Galloway. Well, we'll mute for now, and we'll let you have a look at how Jake Galloway took pole position for tomorrow's French Grand Prix. And that is how Jake Galloway took pole position. And I was just going to bring this up, but Yui's actually just done us a little bit of favour there. He took pole position despite this look. He actually made a little bit of an error through into this flat-out right-hander. So initially he was up in the middle sector, but when Perinen actually went to the top of the timing sheet and I think we'll see this in just a little bit. Look, so as you can see he's having a little bit of a correction mid corner, going through that flat out right hander there. And then, as you can see, when he gets to the end of the second sector, initially he's up, but look, as you can see, Perinin, when he went to the top of the timing sheets, he was actually down in the middle sector, 69 thousandths down on Perinin there. So he made up a lot of time in that last sector, definitely showing that the Ferrari has definitely got a very good downforce package. And, well, Ra, that was a very good recovery in that last sector for Galloway there.
Indeed, he did. Yep, he kind of got away with one, but of course it wasn't even that much. But yeah, sure, there was a little bit much, but in the middle sector. But he managed to smash the final sector and take pole position.
Indeed, so. Well, here is your top 10 then. It is Jake Galloway on pole position with Hazard Perinin in second. Laura Chung is in third with Chris Chatfield fourth. George Roke in fifth with Amar Carr in sixth. Franco Gamba in seventh, followed by fellow Franco Lopez in eighth. So it's going to be an all Franco fourth row there with Joseph Willows in ninth and Rahul Patel in 10th position. Well, that is been it then, guys, for this qualifying session. I hope you have enjoyed it. A very interesting Q3 indeed, and a very strong qualifying for Ferrari. But the question is, can Jake Galloway get his second ever win, or can anybody stop him? Could Jesus Perinin, in fact, try and get his first ever win in the top class? Can the Red Bulls mount a fight back? Can the Mercedes even mount a fight back in the race? It is going to be very, very interesting indeed, I am sure. But that has been it then, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. Of course, we're not done with live streams just yet, because in just over an hour's time, we of course have the F2 race over in Brno, which sees Samet Oskan on pole position. So it'll be very interesting to see how the F2 guys do at Brno. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Ra. And we'll see you tomorrow at 5 PM BST. Obviously with no commentary, because we don't do the commentary. That is, obviously, we let George do that for the highlights. But we'll see you tomorrow at 5 PM BST for the 53 lap French Grand Prix. Till then, take care.
Goodbye.